Hello everybody, my name is Eugene. I work for eBody and today we're going to talk about Android unit testing with Robolectric. So in my experience, every unit testing is for every platform that I had experience with requires some effort to start. So usually, like if you take a look at like a curve, it will take longer time, really huge effort to write the first test and run it and get feedback. And lately, it's like more and more tests going further and faster. So today I'm going to show experience with our unit testing for the Android. So Android is not exception from this list, from this mobile operating system. And I hope you will find something useful, not something, but you will find a way how to do this for your project. So eBody Android projects longer life in the market. So Chat was released in the middle of 2009. XMS was released in May of 2011. But today I'm going to talk about experience that we got not quite far from. So we started in the middle of 2012 working with Robolectric. And Android. Super nice platform. Not, I think one of the most friendly for the developers. Great tools, big community, many open source frameworks and libraries. But still, sometimes you have word issues like you didn't have event for the keyboard, virtual keyboard shown, so you have to treat with layout to see actually if it's shown or not in play. Maybe you need to adjust your layout. And I think this is, I call this a real relationship. So, yeah, for me, real relationship always has some black spots, so it's never going smoothly, and so nice. And many things in the world, in development world, the same. So, my favorite words, Java, Maven, Android, and unit test have the same. So, there is drawbacks, there is pitfalls. I need to know them to actually be efficient and actually. And unit test actually one of my favorite things. Unit test one of the fastest way to get feedback about health of your project as well. It's quite reliable, and that's why many people and many projects really has pay effort to have them. But yeah, let's skip this sentimental stuff. This looks like my first Android unit test, so quite easy. I have activity. Yeah, I create the activity and just want to try if text for the button is download. So quite dummy tests, actually not real. So I don't think maybe someone has kind of this real test. But yeah, so what will be if I run this test? Boom. Runtime exception. So this was really nice surprise for me. So Android is Java, I use Java. Yeah, didn't expect anything as well. Many people found this really interesting on Stack Overflow. The problem is not the problem, but the reason is Android is shipping Android jar with contracts, but every method and every constructor has this runtime exception. And there are reasons to do that. But what we can do with this, what we should do. So how can we test? Yeah, so I took this picture for someone who don't understand Russian. So the idea of this picture was we have many directions. So we are people, we are clever. So and the one of clever solution don't test at all. So that was the first one point of this slide. Unfortunately, it's not a solution for me as for many other people. Another, you can use Podjo, so you can use plain Java objects. You can divide your application to two parts, basically. One is independent from Android, and one is Android dependent, and you can fully test covers, test the Podjo part, but still part with Android dependencies is free from tests. There is official supported way is instrumental test, and they're quite nice, so it's better than nothing. Unfortunately, there are drawbacks with instrumental test as well, because it's still Android application. You need to pass all steps build dexing, process resources, so it's quite slow to actually build and run it. As well, if you forgot to run simulator or have device connected, it will take time for starting and loading, and they are also slow, so the numbers around 10 times slower than, for example, unit tests. So another approach is, so Android is open source platform, we have sources, why not to use them, so why not to use compile Android ourselves with real stuff inside. And I will talk about this approach later, it's valid. And what we're also doing with sometimes, so mocking is not invented for this, but yeah, sometimes we mock something that we want to hide functionality or replace it. So we can mock Android, mock, for example, activity, but to mock real activity, which has at least more than 2 buttons and more than 1 edit field, will take, I think, setup or the test will be longer than 2 pages, so it will be really hard. And the last one, and my favorite, is Robolectric.
Quick question. When you talk about the instrumental test, I guess you're meaning the official Android tests.
Yeah.
And where did you locate tools like Robolectric? There as well?
Robolectric is not invented, I think, for unit tests, so it's more functional, integrational test. But they in the level of using in the level of instrumental test, because it requires to build and deploy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different kind of tests. We use Calabash, which use Robolectric underside, and we have them also. But now unit tests, so Robolectric. This is version, not the first version of this presentation, and there was a line like use framework which emulates Android, but actually there are only one framework which is doing this one right now. At least I know about this only one. So it's Robolectric. Robolectric was created 2 years ago. It started in Extreme Labs. One guy, I forgot his name, sorry. He started this framework around half year. Pivot Labs took forked that one and started mainly work on this framework. And many other big companies, not big but at least famous in the Android environment community, like Square, Google, contributing to this framework as well. And what it's actually doing, so first of all, it parses our resource files, so it knows about our languages, about layouts, about colors and other resource stuff. So as the next one step, whenever someone tries to create Android class activity or it intercepts the creation, it will override bodies of the class with Java assist, and will create a proxy shadow class. Every call for the real object actually going through these shadow classes. So this is for the system looks like Android classes, but they are not. And yeah, I never saw here a demo, so I will have several demos today, real life coding. So I will show you actually how to work with Robolectric. Okay. Nice. Okay, so I created a small. Let me know if font size is okay. So purpose of this demo, I wanted to take some small, easy application, but to show possibilities of Robolectric. And I decided to use, so I call this like dummy downloader, Android downloader. So it has edit box for entering URL. Whenever you hit download button, it will try the final version of application. Probably will try to download something from this URL and maybe present it to you in a nice way. So I have already created main activity. Quite simple, so I have two two components, simple create, empty on click, yeah, nothing special. As well, I created already main activity test, so it looks like almost like it was on slides before, except I put instead of hard-coded download button here is a text from resources. Okay, so if I'll try to run this guy right now on my PC, so like it's just normal unit tests, what I'll see. Yeah, stub exception. If you're interested in where this happens, it happens. Yeah, in a okay, nice. It happens in setup whenever I try to create an activity, which we will call super activity, which will call real Android jar file. Will throw this runtime safe. So what I need to do several things to run this test with Robolectric. I need to open my local properties file, and yeah, so I already have a little bit cheating. So I have the line with my pass to the SDK, and I need to just say here and if I run now this test, yeah, we see already debug logging from Robolectric and bam, it's passed. So actually you can see that my activity is created. Also, activity has correct layout. Also, resources parsed, and it's actually checked that download button has correct label. Dummy test. So I don't think anyone tests static text, but let's write more tests. So I was thinking about something. So it's real app, probably will nice for user experience that when I start download, for example, control site is not nice user experience, not best user experience, but okay, we prevent user to try another URL, for example. So let's have a test like when download started, controls disabled, and yeah, I want to check activity. It's false, and probably I want to check the same.
May I ask, is your control supposed to be spelled like that?
Sorry?
The control.
Oh yeah, you're right. My English is terrible and typing as well.
No, it's just typo error. I saw you
Yeah.
right before.
We can fix it. So
Yeah.
even my idea helps. So I have assertions, and let's say so we need to somehow get in this situation. So probably we suppose that user clicks on the button, we expect that something happens. Yeah. So this situation should be there. When we run this test, yeah, it's running. It's running. Boom. First test pass, second one no. Oh yeah, it's correct because we didn't implement the functionality. So here we have our click. So let's say here will be download started, and here let's say download button false, and the same for edit URL. So when I run this test now, I would expect with PES. Yeah, correct. And now I can start small refactoring. So I probably will extract. Oops, I will probably extract this as a download. So probably I can call it from other places as well, and probably as well I will extract this to disable. So probably I can disable controls from other methods as well. So kind of dummy test, not dummy, but okay, this is already real testing functionality, and it's nice. So again, if you lost like what's actually Robolectric doing, I just recommend this guy, and we will actually see that Robolectric is really needed for our tests. Most tests fails, and despite that we have controls activities. Robolectric gives us more. So, for example, next test I was thinking about, like, okay, when download finished, when we download something from network, we will probably show the result for the user. So, for example, if it was image, let's show this image, and I was thinking that this result should be presented in another activity. So our main activity will launch another activity with the result. So I want to check, I want to write tests that when download finished, result shown. And I'm not going now write test first, going write functionality and so on. Let's go a little different. So let's have a...
Can I help?
Yeah.
You're gonna theoretically test the download from the internet. That's really not a good idea for a unit test. You should be able to mock the internet download somehow.
No, I'm not going to test download from internet.
No, but I'm asking for real world unit test where you have an application that talks with the REST API. What would you use? Would you actually talk with the REST API for the unit test, or would you mock it?
No, I won't. I will mock it.
Which tool would you use for that? Mockito?
Yeah, Mockito definitely, but why RESTful is actually something special to mock. Like it will be kind of component RESTful, I don't know, RESTful calls, which will have methods, for example, call this method and result, and I will mock it and give to my class which needs RESTful work with network this mock, and so it won't call anything. It will just yes, I will use mock.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, so let's continue. We will probably have yeah. So we have downloader, which will probably have it could be the okay. Let's start with simple. Next we can rework. So for example, download finish it. So we're going with listener kind of solution, and it's probably will return our byte array. Yeah, like result, and let's check that we will probably create new intent result. Yes, please. Which will be new intent, this, and probably result activity class. Let's name it like this. Yeah, I hope you also don't see it. Okay, how can I do this? Probably like this. And yeah, it says we don't know about this one. Yeah, we will create class. Yes, please. So and finally we have intent, and we can finally oh yeah, I forgot, since we have already result, we would probably put no, put extra, and we will say like maybe result. Not nice names, we can rework them later. So we have this method. Now we're going to test, and we're going to want to test it. So yeah, let's have kind of result. Let's call activity download finished with result. And now we want to check that our activity has actually started new activity. So we don't have any access for activity or for next intent in Android, but we can do this in next way. Shadow activity. So I'm now going to access shadow class, which is proxy for the activity, and it will be, yeah, it's easy to do, like Robolectric shadow of activity. Now I have access for the shadow, and now I can actually check.
You made a mistake in the activity.
Mm-hmm.
The line above.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The sprint activity.
Yeah, sometimes it's slow. Okay, so I need to check that actually my shadow activity, get next start activity is equal to new, and it will be activity, and it will be result activity.class. So if I run this test now, oh yeah, I forgot. Let's see if I return back Robolectric. Yes. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. First two passes, second one didn't because it was expecting. Oh yeah, it's we forgot about extras. Okay. So nice that we have a real test, and real test actually showed us that we forgot that. Let's say, kind of say next. And we need to here say. Let's see how it works now. Bam. Correct. So with this, yeah.
Question?
Sure.
You didn't declare the second activity on the manifest, so if you run this on a device, it will probably crash.
Correct.
I was expecting this to be catch up by the Robolectric framework, actually.
This is nice, valid point, and I never actually thought about this one. I will check how I think there should be something possible. So in this test, I showed that we actually have this. Okay, let's show. There are numbers of these shadow off. You can get shadow. Oops. You can get shadow of many Android classes. So, and they provide additional functionality. For example, for the logo, you can check what resource ID is inside, which is not possible for for the normal Android classes. So this is really powerful and gives you actually insight what is what your app is doing. Okay, so demo passed. First one. So some highlights from this demo. You need to have correct path to SDK inside the local properties file, which is important, or you need to have Android home setup, environment variable. Sometimes, if you use Maven, for example, you have JUnit dependency below. When IDEA imports a POM file, it puts JUnit dependency below Android dependency, and this is issue for Robolectric because Robolectric works with 3.8 plus JUnit, and Android shipped with older version of JUnit. So you need to modify dependency in class path, but it's not a problem for Eclipse people. And don't forget to put run with your with test runner, so you will actually run this test with Robolectric. I said, yeah. Robolectric is already 2 years old, but it's still in active development. You can imagine how big is Android jar, how big Android APIs. They also ships new updates every year, every half year, and they need to support that one. So it's still in active development. And the biggest issue, it's kind of, for me, not mature. So if I just jump to this Robolectric, from how can I start? How can I? Where examples? Where is documentation? And this is still in a very kind of low level. So the best way to get knowledge is get to the group or to the Stack Overflow topic. As well, they don't have scheduled releases. So this is open source too, and but they release every year or something like that. So it's really painful because it's in active development. People are contributing a lot. Some issues are fixed. And so they wrote a blog post about how to deal with this situation. They recommend you fork, or not fork, just download sources, build your own Robolectric and use, and time to time updates and build snapshot and again use it. So it's also possible, but not really useful, not convenient. Drawbacks for me, despite of that one. Robolectric actually works with class loader. Class loader is already magic, so sometimes this magic doesn't work. Sometimes you need to put something, you need to give effort to write something in your own hand. I will show it later. Since it's already work a lot with class loader, it's overlay class loader functionality. Frameworks like a PowerMock, which also works with class loader heavily, doesn't work, or work partly, or so at least for the PowerMock there are no official way, no known way how to run together PowerMock and Robolectric. And for me, the most is time to run tests. So to get this feedback takes 1 second or even more. So it's not a problem when you run continuous integration, 300 tests, 400 tests to wait 1 more second. But it's a problem when you're doing this stuff, when you write tests, write functionality, write tests, write functionality. Wait 1 second before the feedback is really slow. It's not really good accept. Okay, so sometimes this happens. The Android API is quite big sometimes. For example, recently I found test menu item doesn't support visible and invisible. So if I try to write test, that for example in some cases my item should be invisible, I will fail because actually Robolectric has dummy implementation always return true. And in these cases you need to take situation in your strong hands, so you need to write shadow. It's quite easy, so Robolectric is quite easy to extend. You need to write on shadow, you need to know Robolectric this shadow is for this class. And yeah, so there are steps, write shadow, write your extend the test runner. So in this way you can inject, not inject, you can say to Robolectric this shadow now used. And my warm recommendation to submit your change to the GitHub repository so other people can benefit from your contribution. I wanted also to have demo for the shadowing, but since we will have one more demo. So I decided just to talk, and if you have questions, please ask. So next topic is dependency injection, heavily used by me and by many companies. It's dependency injection makes cleaner your code, makes testable your code and supportable code. And there are several frameworks for Java for dependency injection, and several much less for the Android. Most used is Robo Juice, which has 2.0 version right now. There are other frameworks, and there is drawbacks of these frameworks. If you want, I can show. We can talk later what is plus minus. So, this is code which uses Robo Juice framework. The line is inject bus actually is injection itself. So this is for anyone used bus before? So this is framework for a library from Square, Auto. So when you have, for example, you have fragment and activity, and so usual way or many people just pass activity as a listener or as interface to the fragment. So fragment knows about the activity, but this is kind of drawback because if activity is not shown or something happens, so and you can. They propose it's to manage in a little different way. So they have a bus, the component which liable in the system, and fragment just show the send event to the bus, and activity just listen for this event. So there are no dependency, no strong linking between activity and fragment. So if activity gone or listener gone, something event will be just consumed, nothing happens. So no new pointers anymore. And this is a library for doing that one. But back to dependency injection, why this spot is, for me, it is kind of beautiful, because after several years with GAT objects, with singletons, with static methods, right now this class is poorly free from them. So I know that there is somewhere bus, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter when it's created, doesn't matter who created that one, doesn't matter how to access it. So I know just there is bus, and I need to call this method for them. So that's all. This is beauty for me for this dependency injection. And if you want to have working test with dependency injection with Robo Juice, you need to make some effort. And I will show now in this demo how to friendly link Robo Juice with Robolectric. Okay, so back to our application. First let's make it great. Okay, so as I wrote here, we will have to use Robo Juice, you need to extend this from Robo Activity. And there will be injection. Yes, please. Yes, please. And oh yes, no. And let's say I want on start. I want to register to the bus, and I want probably on pause, on stop. I don't know, pause, resume. We can think about this one later, but let's do this on start and on stop. So we would unregister. from bus. And I would like to write a test for this. So let's say when start registered to bus, and let's write this small test. So we will verify that bus I will create the field bus, which will be bus, that will be mock for the bus, and finally I want in this test verify that we call register for the activity, and it happens when activity actually will start. So small test that we actually register to the bus. When I write this one, when I run test, it doesn't pass because we actually don't call register, but it's because we didn't inject our bus to the activity itself. So we created bus mock, but we didn't pass it to the activity. So to make this working, yeah, I wrote a small injection test runner which extends Robolectric test runner, and basically what it's doing is create injector in for the Robo Juice, and it's also set for this Robo Juice from the I also created injected test, which actually just test but provide abstract model. So okay, just let's make this test working. So I need to use my injected test runner, and I need to extend my test now from injected test. And yeah, sure, we need to implement method. So here we will return new abstract model, and the most is going here. So I will just say bind. I will bind my bus.class to instance of bus, and I think this is enough. So now my injecting test runner will, before every test, will inject using abstract model to the classes it needs. So it will inject here. It will, for any bus class which require injection in any class under the test, will use this bus, which is our mock, and now we can actually test and check that everything that we want, for example, bus was created or bus. That was a short demo about Robo Juice and Robolectric. So some key points from this one: you need to write, you need to extend the test runner, and you need to say how to what inject and how, and you need to do this injection before every test. Maybe it's enough for do injection before every test class, not every test method, but it's up to you. I said that we can use Android sources, real sources for testing, and I never tried that one, but Robolectric guys tried, and they said it's really hard because Android is not only Java. There are a lot of native calls. You need to handle this situation if you use these real jars. Also, Android has a lot, not a lot, but yes, there are static methods, final classes, final methods. So you need to handle this situation as well if you want to test it. And good thing that Robolectric guys, influenced by Square, actually started a new approach. So they 2 months ago released alpha for 2.0, which use this approach. Like they try to use as much as possible Google code. So they try to avoid writing all shadow classes, all shadow implementations, and they try to use as much as possible Google implementations. As well, they introduced in 2.0 another framework, and they use now, instead of Java Assist, ISM, which gives a performance improvement. So for me, at least, I wouldn't wait so long for one test run. And there are other improvements, so you can check on their blog post about what is going to be the new version. And I talk a lot of Robolectric, so I said a lot of drawbacks, I said a lot of kind of problems, but I just want to just give you a real citation about what's Robolectric is. But the pluses when you get from this, when you use Robolectric, when you write your unit test, is much bigger. So it's not, it's acceptable. It's, for me, it's this super that I can write and test my Android code on the desktop. And this is not only valid for me or for my company. Other big companies are well companies like Square using that one a lot, and as well they complain about something, but still they use it. They found this acceptable. And this is all. Great. Yeah, I think this was really super technical and super deep kind of talk. Thank you that you're listening. Thank you for hosting, for the opportunity, and yeah, thank you for my colleagues to the experience as well. So I'm open now for your questions.
I have a few.
Yeah.
How does Robolectric interact with content providers? Because that's one of my main applications which I want to include in the test. And this looks like really promising. Is heavily relying on content providers.
Okay, do you want to test your content providers?
I want to start like a fresh app and do several actions and check that whatever, like add some new node, and then when I go to the list of nodes, see that it's there because it's been added to a content provider. Something like that.
Okay, you want to add tests from your app or outside of app?
From the app. Yeah.
Okay, now you're describing actually several tests for me, at least for me. I will check first that when you test, when you write node, some action, some events will send somewhere, and I will check on another side, for example, in content provider, when it gets this action, it will create node, and now I will check, for example, in another class that in database this node is existing. When you put something in database, it's shown on the node. So this is kind of 3 tests for me, at least. So and this is unit tests. You check small pieces of functionality, but do not check that all components work together. So for that one,
actually, that's what I described as one of my robotic tests.
Okay, yeah. For that one, you need to use.
But this, what I don't like about robotic is that it's very reliable. It actually fails 1 out of 3 times with the same code. It's like, okay, so.
Okay, for us, the collaboration was also quite hard because there are a lot of dependencies, and if you run it on Mac, it runs. If you run it on Windows, you need to spend a lot of time. And but finally, we figure out the issues, and yeah, it's better than nothing. So I think it's a great tool.
About robo activity, you mentioned that you have to stand. Most of my classes stand server activity. How do they interact with each other?
Yep, there is also a guy who used Sherlock and Robo Juice, so he found that it's not kind of. He wrote small library, which gives you Robo Sherlock something activity. So it's both, yeah. But basically, you just need to change extend from and so on.
Okay, so it's a library that exists.
Yeah.
Another last question is
no. I think even Robo Juice maybe we can check. Maybe Robo Juice even has it. So maybe 2.0. I don't remember exactly.
Someone has worked on
maybe
this,
it's,
right?
it's included with Robo Juice. Yeah.
My main question is, someone has worked on this before?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's one more question about you have the test in the same in the same package as the rest of the activity, but I like to have my test as a separate project, which is run independently, which is what I do for normal Android unit test. And I also want to have it integrated with Jenkins. Do you work with that two things? Like separating the test from the project and integrating it with the continuous integration system?
First of all, I don't agree that unit tests should be separate. Okay, they could be in different folder, for example. It could be multi-module project, but it still should be one. So, for example, when you release version 1 of your app, you release also version 1 of your test, of your integration tests. So there are no
I see them as like a single workspace, different projects from my point of view, because when you ship an app, you don't want to ship the compiled tests.
Yeah, but I don't see a problem having tests inside the folder because it won't be included. When you say in Eclipse it's unit test, it knows it's unit test, it won't be included to the APK. So.
Okay. This is different from the Android normal tests then.
Yes.
They include.
Yeah. And the second one about Jenkins, we use Tricity, but this is kind of the same, so it's also continuous integration server. Yeah, but Robolectric is just it's a framework, will give you functionality. Normal JUnit on desktop can create classes and call. It's nothing connected to unit test at all in unit test infrastructure or something. So unit test runs by Maven or by any command line, by anything. So
as long as you can do it from command line, you can integrate it into it.
yeah, it's easy. So no problems at all.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I don't know if someone else has questions. I'm sorry to take it over.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you guys.